Hey, Twitch and YouTube. Good to be back. We're decompiling a pair of Sony MDR V6s. Great headphones. I had, there's two different models of these. One is, I think, the 7506, and these are the V6. And I've looked to try to find a definitive answer as to whether they are the same headphones or not, and I cannot find one. I used to have both pairs, one for home and one for work. And on a trip to San Diego, I left them where we were staying and lost my 7506s. Still have the V6s. I had the V6s originally and then got the 7506s later on. And now I don't have those anymore, and I'm a little bummed about it. I don't have to go into an office anymore, so I'm not don't need a second set, but it was nice to have both variations. Hey, dig down deep. No, my Sony MDR V6s. Sony also makes a model called 7506. The major difference between the two, and it's a huge difference, by the way, is that the V6s have a red sticker and the 7506s have a blue sticker. So if you're on Team Red or Team Blue, you get to pick your sticker. I had one of both, so I don't know what team that puts me on. But they both sound great. I never noticed the difference. These, the issue with them is, so they're neutral, and so you have to like a neutral headphone. They're not gonna, change your music one way or another. The fake leather padding around the ears, that starts to flake off, and you can get some nice velour pads, which is what I did for these. The other ones still have the original. Anyway, we're gonna work on Richter a little bit. So Dizik pointed out yesterday that the PSP had a bunch of symbols, and that made me think to look. I really should constantly be going back to Doppelganger, because I think this is going to be mostly the same as Doppelganger, except for when you get into the actual moves and things like that. So I did spend a little bit of time yesterday doing that. I looked at what those symbols were and put a bunch of symbols in place. And so we're going to have a little bit more information today. Yeah, I don't have any Sennheisers anymore. I had a nice pair. They were always reviled in reviews, but I liked them just fine. It was maybe 20 years ago now, though. They were, I think, the HD 270. And one day, the band where it connects to the headphone just snapped, and that was it. They were done. But yeah, that's one of the nice things about nicer headphones, or studio headphones, things like that. You can find parts for them, and they last forever. They take a beating. The only thing I don't like about these Sony headphones, I do a lot of my sons and I play online games quite a bit, and they don't have a headphone built in. My other favorite pair of headphones that I also don't have around here is the Grotto S60i. Is that SR60i? I don't remember the exact name of it. Grotto SR60. Yeah. And I think there is a version of those now that have a headphone. I did not appreciate these at first. I read all kinds of reviews about them. This also is like 15 years ago that I think I got these. And I would use them at work in like a shared office space area, and I just didn't get it. They didn't make sense to me. And then one day, for some reason, I had to work from home, and it was completely quiet, and I was listening to them, and they sounded awesome. And then I realized, oh, these are open headphones. You you can't be hearing everything. But then a few years ago, I started to do gaming with them. And when you have a big family and there's lots of people who always want your attention all the time, they were great for that because you could hear the game. They sound great. And then you can hear other people around you too. And they don't have to listen to the explosions and all the other things that are happening. But unfortunately, I should show a picture of the venerable SR60Is. They don't have a microphone. Their cord sucks, and they don't have a microphone. I think there is a version now that does have a microphone. They feel cheap as all get out, even though, I mean, $60, I guess, nowadays for headphones is cheap. But back when I bought them, that was like people paid $20 for headphones, not $60. And now they pay $500 for headphones, so what do I know? They sound good, though. I like those. They don't have a mic, though. All right, so let's get into Richter. Like I said, Dizik pointed out yesterday that we had some symbols in the PSP version. That reminded me of all the doppelganger stuff. So I went through and I put as many symbols as I could stand in here. Before we get back to this, though, so I did grab. We had done this already. The steps. I don't really like this notation. The PL_S. This isn't a player. I'm mostly keeping them because the code matches with Richter a little better. I haven't seen this PLS debug, but I do know that there are 4 different end states. I can think of 3. I guess there could be 4. So there's you beat Richter, Richter beats you, both without the holy glasses and then with the holy glasses. So that could be our 4 end states, and we'll figure that out. But then, because of that, I went through and added all of timer symbols, and those all also appear to align with Richter just fine. And some of those we don't have names for, some of them we do. Back to the step macros. All of these are off by 1, and that's how Doppelganger was too. Everything was off by 1, so instead of starting at 0, we start at 1. I don't know why. Maybe because step 0 is initialization for entities, and this isn't, like, the player entity is a very different type of thing. Oh, where was I going with that? So all these are off by 1, so we have PLS 7, even though the value is 8, and 6, and the value is 7. So everything is shifted. The death ones later on, when we figure out what those are, I did keep all of those as their actual decimal number. But then when you have all those names, you can put them in the switch, and the switch looks great. And we have all the names for all of these functions as well. They should all be OVL exported, but that will come. We have some runes in the chat. Hey, YouTube. Nice to have you, Reno and Daniel. Good to have you back. The RS-175. Those look very nice. That's much nicer than anything I own. I do like, so I have a pair of Astros as well, and they're wireless but not Bluetooth. That does have its place. Bluetooth sucks for gaming, but for getting 2.4 gigahertz, somehow my wireless headphones, they started interfering with my Wi-Fi. So I can't be on the computer at the same time. All right, back to where we were. So a couple things that we'll try to address today and get this one finished off. So this was renamed Rick Main to match the Rick Main in the Richter overlay. We have one extra variable on the stack, so we'll have to deal with that at some point. quickly skimming through. Most of this is just register issues. We have one additional move down here on line 150, possibly when we get some other register fixes. Hopefully that'll work itself out. A word load on 187. Oh yeah, I was trying to work that out yesterday. Let's look at that again and see what that looks like, and we'll go over to the PlayStation as well and try to find that. So we're at this time attack section here. We have our Richter step. We have our loading of SP30, which we don't have a name for yet. We have two variables being loaded here that we're not doing. And I thought that I had this at some point, but now it's not there anymore. All right, so we have this Rick step and step S getting set to a local. I'll have to see if that matches up. So our conditions look good. The only thing I would probably change here is we can change this to an else if, and then, oh, can we? No, we can't do that. There is an else down here that we're missing. And so the way that this go-to is set up, typically the PlayStation or the PSP does not have go-tos unless they're necessary or we don't understand the control logic. So this says if we're in step 70 or step 11, and we know what those steps are now. Let's go put those in. 11 is the one that I'm more interested in. Hex 11, 17. Dead prologue, which I don't think is actually, no, that's the wrong dead. I'll find that again. So if that's not true, then we're going to run these two functions. So we do need the else there. I guess I'll put a label here and we'll see if that makes a difference. Yeah, I don't like the go-to, but I can't think of a way to fall into that without disrupting these cases as well. But let's go back to the assembly and see if that has cleaned anything up. So we're still here. It seems like we have not this Rick step. There we go. We have the wrong type for A64, and that's, I think, what I was struggling with. I missed. This is probably a unsigned. I missed that these variables were being set here, and we have our register, so we're good. I think that's good. A store on 190 that's missing. The store is because this is SP10 is spilling over to the stack. This is stack as well. So some symbol issues, no big deal. 240, we have some type issues here. So it looks like we might need... oh, no, this is stack and register issues too. So no issue there. Possibly something here on 249. There's no return. All these are void, as far as I know. And we don't have names for those yet. That's fine. 288. So we're missing... we're missing some cases in our switch. So we have 1, 2. We'll go over here and look at them. I think they're in reverse numerical order. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have that in both places. 9 in both places. B in both places. They have 11. So 11 is out of order for us. And 11 is dead. So that means we need to move dead up. I took something with me. Shoot. No, that's not. Reordering it is not helping. Is it? I think just the branch locations that are changing. Okay, let's see if there must be some missing. So we don't have 19. We don't have 1A. 19 is, and let's see where they're going. So we need blade dash and run, it looks like. I think they're falling through. I think that's what's happening. So blade dash and run come after slide. Let's see if that one's there. So here's slide. Let's throw those in there. So our branches are not quite right. 60 has a case that we're not dealing with. 60 is 64. This 96. Oh, these should be breaks. How about that? That looks better. 1, 9, and 1A. Those are the ones that I just added, and they shouldn't be going to the same place as 40 and 50, which are these. So let's look at what 40 and 50 should be doing. Actually, we can go to the decomp and look there. So there's some state that's being set that that needs to be done, and so we actually have a little bit of difference here. Quite a bit, actually. I don't know if that is just missing from the PlayStation or if it's being done in a different way. So we do have the set invincibility frames, and that'll be prefixed with BO6 now. OVL export. So 40 and 50 are doing the same thing, and then they're setting the status as well. So here the status is getting set, and there's this OR of 0 and the status. I'm not sure if that's real or fake, and so we're gonna look to see whether that's real or fake. It looks like this additional time attack is there on the PlayStation as well, and that may be PSP specific, or maybe not, and it is something that was pulled out as shared code, and I just missed it. So there is this case 13. So all of these setting the status and then falling through for case 13. Let's see what that is. Stand in air. So that one looks like it's missing too. And some of these, like I said, they may actually be missing from the PlayStation, and that's where the original list came from. And so this could be a bug fix. Oops. That came from the PlayStation. And somewhere along the way I broke something, so let me figure out what that is. Oh. I have this in the list already. Oh, interesting. So this this looks like it was just optimized in a different way, possibly. A go-to that worked slightly differently. Let's go back and see what this looks like. So it'd be great if the offsets lined up. They're not going to line up perfectly, and we actually see that here. The diff tools are pretty smart about knowing like when lines have shifted. That means offsets have shifted too, and it compensates for that, so those numbers aren't the same, but the diff considers them the same line. So it's these next ones that are off, and basically everything after that. But let's look at the code and see what that looks like. So 243. Oh yeah, this does not make sense. My guess is that this just got moved by accident somewhere. So now that's looking much better. The 1.9 and the 1A seem to be inverted. That's down here in the next one. And so we might be able to tell from the ordering which ones those are. So I'm pretty happy with this switch right now on 219. So we'll go down to the next one. So we do some work up here. The way that this is working, kind of going top to bottom. This is called every time the Richter entity is updated. So basically every frame. You come through, all the timers get updated. Timers are frame based. And so if any of the timers have expired, then there might be some logic to do. And so maybe you need to set invincibility frames. Maybe you need to change the animation or change some colors, change a palette. So timer stuff done first before anything else. Then we go through and we look at what the virtual control pad for Richter says, and that gets copied into Richter's local control pad, along with some logic for setting what buttons are being pressed now versus what is held. We do some logic around whether or not Richter is dead, and then some logic around do we need to increment the step or set the step to something else. And then, so that's all setup logic. And now we have like Richter at steady state ready for his updates for this next frame. And so we look at what his current place in the state machine is, and then call the appropriate function. So a long time ago, the way emulators worked actually was very similar to this. You would have a giant switch statement like this, and you'd switch on what the opcode was for the instruction that you were going to execute next. And a bunch of languages actually work like that too. JavaScript, a lot of that was written like kind of the same way with its interpreters. And what they moved to is, instead of doing things this way, they moved to having just direct dispatch tables, is what they're called in the emulator or object-oriented world. If you have virtual functions kind of doing the same thing, and so you go to an array index. Jump tables mostly do the same thing, and that works on GCC, but it does not work here. And that's why it's done, because older compilers didn't necessarily produce efficient enough code. Hey, Guest 73. Hey, Supreme Quetzal, good to have you. So I just think it's interesting how this was designed, and for the time, this was how dispatch like this was done. Would we do it differently now? Yeah. Hash tables were not like as ubiquitous as they are now. That didn't really start happening until the turn of the century. Partially because memory was so precious. You couldn't just throw away a quarter of your memory for your hash table lookup. And hashing wasn't where it is today, where we know it's fast. We know lots of different things about it. All right, so back to this. Sometimes I find these kind of esoteric things that pop up in the game interesting. On the side here, I'm going to open up my header file so that I have this list, because I can't remember these. I can't remember numbers for more than like 30 seconds. So what I'm trying to figure out is with our jump table here, why are some of these out of order? What are they? What should I be looking for? So like we have 1A and 1.9 out of order. 1A is run and the other one's blade dash. So it could just be simply that those two are correct. They just need to be switched. And that would give us the right thing. And that's exactly what happened. Because this isn't a jump table, the actual ordering of these may affect the ordering in this. So, I mean, this is, if it's this one, jump to here. If it's this one, jump to here. If it's this one. So literally for all of these, it's as inefficient as you could be. Check stand, check walk, check crouch, until you find exactly what you want and then execute that. And we could turn on optimization and see what it looks like then. I'm sure MetroWorks can optimize this to something more efficient, but this is reasonably inefficient for long tables like this, or long switches like this. I do want to go back actually before we keep going and just check that I have the ordering correct in this other table. That one actually looks really good too. All right. So some minor issues with the earlier cases. 5 and 4 should be going to the same. So 5 is jump. So jump and fall should be going to the same place. And oh, they should not be going to the same place. So let's go down and look at that. That's around line 300. And we can look at the decomp there. So we're looking at 5 and 4. So yeah, they execute the same logic. So it makes sense that GCC would optimize these to the same thing. And again, MetroWorks, not that MetroWorks is a bad compiler. It may or may not. Commercial compilers in the 90s were better than open source compilers, and you could see significant gains by using them. But in this case, we're using it without the optimizer enabled, and so all bets are off. So we have another one here, case 11, hex 11 is 17, which is PLS dead, which is down here on 314. And there's, okay, another call to time attack, which it seems like the PlayStation doesn't have. We'll be able to go back and see that that's actually the case. And go back and look at that again. So getting some differences here. So case 3 is crouch. Basically these crouch and fall. No, crouch and walk. Look like they might be having some problems. So let's look at that as well. Okay, so similar to fall and jump, the same status is being set, and so GCC just optimizes it to the same thing. And now all of these line up. So we have a load immediate, or load unsigned immediate on 298 that's missing. So I think that this is going to be written like this. I'm not quite sure. Did I put too many zeros? Yeah, I got too many zeros. No, not quite. All right, so yeah, it isn't an or here. Interesting. A move that's odd. Not concerned about that yet. Some more moves that are odd. An out of order load here on 321. It has to do with register issues. Not gonna worry about that yet. All these moves, not concerned about. 354. Looks like we're doing something similar. This might be an OR equals, yeah. 359, we're not checking against 0. Just doing a truthy check. 373. The 1 is not an argument to this function. It's being loaded in A0, and it's actually on the PlayStation. We'd probably see that the instruction is happening either in the no-op slot, delay slot, or beforehand. But because this function doesn't take any arguments, it doesn't make a difference whether that's done or not. And that might be the end of this. Oh, nope, just a little bit more down here on 404. Getting closer. Yeah, so some entity stuff is being done near the end. Let's sneak a peek. It looks like we're doing some debug printing. It looks PSP specific. Boss, BO6. I'm hoping that this is going to be rendered as a string. It might not be. It is. Okay, so PL color, that gives us a pretty good indication of what this is going to be, which is nice. So this is going to be PSP specific. We talked about font print actually yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before? One of those. Sometime in the past. How it is just the strangest function signature and something that doesn't really work on modern compilers anymore. Give me 1 second while I change my mouse input in terminal, and I don't necessarily like it. Some things are nicer. I can scroll in Tmux. Oh, I got the whole thing. That's fine. I can do that. But I can't select things in a straightforward way. So here we want a color. What color do we want? We want the color at this offset. That's not helpful at all. We know where Richter is approximately. So our let's go back to, I'm just gonna put it on placeholder here. Rick. We'll put step in just to have something. Guest73 says this is faster for small number of cases because you have CPU branch prediction. not on the PlayStation or the PSP for that matter. Things like that were definitely not happening. All right, a few things up here. We're setting some attributes that I don't have yet. I wonder, so when did branch prediction start becoming a thing? That was actually kind of a feature of MIPS or any risk, I thought, but obviously risk is not a small instruction, small and simple anymore. This doesn't really say. It looks like around 95. I don't know. That too long for me to read. Oh, there. So yeah, there definitely was work in the early 90s. The Pentium had branch prediction in 93. But none of the early to mid 90s MIPS CPUs would have had it. All right, so we're loading Richter and sticking him maybe in current entities. No, we're just loading him, putting in a register. Why? Do we have an entity? We don't even have an entity. That might be a word at the front of entity. The word is, or the value there is pos x. Not sure. And let me look at entity 64 on the PSP. It's here. No, still can't. I'm gonna have to get used to that. Still can't copy with shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts. It might be worth looking at this 4EAC as well and see if, oh no, it's not. These are just going into S7 and S6, which are just local variables. So they're going into these local variables, and this is why we don't see it actually on the PlayStation. They're being assigned to local variables and then never used. That's odd. So I wanted to see where this was in relation. And for the audience at home, I don't say it enough, but I really appreciate everybody who shows up every day in chat. This actually is... It's position X and position Y. Interesting. I decided I do a lot of calculator stuff, so I put a mini calculator on the screen. It doesn't cover my face anymore, but that means I can have it up as much as I want. So this is position X and position Y, so we have to go through and see where else this might have been loaded. This is just loading the address, so a pointer, not the value. Something right at the very end is like, yeah, I really need that position X and position Y, and then doesn't use it. I think we should do a couple things to figure this out. I will make a... we use the type F32. It's a struct that you can use to access different parts of that position as 16 or 32 bits in the top or the bottom. That's in, if you call the fixed point number on PlayStation format, we'll call this one Konami format. And this should load Word. It doesn't though. So we're gonna have to use .val and then switch this back to a sine 32. And these are getting pushed to the stack. They're probably not separate variables, but this might be as close as we're going to get before looking at variables. Let's take this back. Let's go over to the PlayStation and see if we're any closer. We're further away! Oh, the horror, the horror. All right, so all hope is not lost. We have a wealth of information at our fingertips. If you go to soten.z.dev, obviously you can learn more about the Castlevania Symphony of the Night project. You can also find a link to the source code for everything that we've decompiled so far. And I don't usually browse in GitHub, but it's actually very pleasant. And so I should really do it more. I'm going to move that tab right next to my decomp.me scratch. You can find the Richter code in source. Rick. This layout, except for the special ones that we've made, so like platform specific things, should match the layout of the PlayStation disc. So we'll go into Rick, which is the Rick overlay, and I think this will be in PL main, which is where Richter as a player, where his main function exists. And look at this. We have PSP specific prints. If only I would have looked at this a long time ago, maybe I would have been able to get through this much faster. But it's fun to learn again, isn't it? Let's see if no, we don't have the color one. This would actually be somewhat fun. Let's actually go back to where we were and see if this is a symbol without a name, we might get to name a new entity symbol. That's like naming a star. No, there's like billions of stars and everybody can name like a million and we'd still not run out of stars, and so people sell you that, right, don't they? No, so we don't want to name a star. That would be bad. This is like naming a new species. Yes, that's it. A species that's never been found before. We may have found it, but like the Brachiosaurus, we might have just found something that somebody has named already. Shout out to everybody who misses the Brachiosaurus. So we're at offset 12. And it's the hitbox offset? No. Facing left. Facing left? No. Palette. That makes sense. That actually makes a lot of sense. So, palette is our Brachiosaurus for today. All right, so let's let's figure out variables. The PSP makes it easy-ish to figure out variables. Let's see if we can get a little better on the PlayStation. What else was I going to do before I did that? Oh, there's a few names here that I like, and I'm going to take. I do like angle as the parameter to this geometric functions, so I'll take that. Nice to rename our variables to something reasonable. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Our RV0 here should be inline. I think we might be able to get rid of RV0 then. Thank you. Always appreciate it. Does anybody remember Twitch Plays Pokemon? If you don't remember Twitch Plays Pokemon, it was just after. So Twitch, if you don't know, used to be called Justin TV. And one of the most popular things to do on Justin TV, allegedly. I don't think I ever spent any time on Justin TV. But what did people do there? They mostly streamed themselves playing video games, believe it or not. Who would want to watch that? And sorry, I'm gonna go up here, switch back and forth. So I'm comparing what we currently have in Richter versus what's here. So anyway, on Justin TV, they didn't figure out on Richter that this was a float. So we figure out some new things along the way. One of the early things that I remember after Justin TV turned into Twitch, and take this all with a grain of salt because my memory is like that of a gnat. So this might all be made up, and somebody should actually do this because I imagine it all. But what I remember happening is somebody set up a chat bot that would read the chat, and so in chat you could you could chat button presses, and then the chatbot would read those button presses, send them to an emulator that was playing Pokemon, and then that's what Twitch Plays Pokemon was. That actually was derived from, I think, beta fish. Two beta fish that were playing Street Fighter against each other, and the moves from Street Fighter would be input based on where the beta fish were in the tank, and they would fight each other. Man, the early internet was awesome. Earlier internet. Maybe it still is. Maybe these kind of weird pockets of the world exist, and I just don't know where they are anymore. Anyway, so Twitch Plays Pokemon. The goal was to see, could Twitch eat Pokemon through chat, and I think they did, if I remember correctly. No comments in chat means either nobody remembers that or I'm remembering it incorrectly, and everybody's embarrassed. All right, so we got to fix existing Richter, which is nice. I'm going to kind of just flip back and forth. Unfortunately, the fonts are different. Can't align this quite the same, but we can get a general idea. Here we have another one, palette. I really need to make a linter for that. Along the way, I really should be building this and making sure that I didn't break anything. And Richter's not building because That other change that I did to prevent assets from overwriting each other is not in yet. I'm going to change this to, I'm not going to change this to Richter, but I like using the Boolean constants when something looks like a Boolean instead of 1 and 0. That's like the graybeards. I feel like the 1s and 0s, but I prefer true and false. So yeah, Richter is building fine. All right, so now we're going to be down here around pad tapped pressed. That logic should be basically the same. I'm not too concerned with that. So instead of player, we're looking at Richter, so grick instead of gplayer. We also have this difference here. We're just checking if the player's dead. In Richter, we're also checking this other terminal condition, which we don't know what that is yet. I'm going to name these, actually. I'm going to call them just ending 1 through 4. And so far I haven't seen the debug step, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to show up somewhere else. But that gives us some starting point names as well for these other functions. Where were we? Higher. We're right around where the pad is being set. So here we have PLS ending 4. Teleport doesn't seem like it would be relevant. So this logic all seems relatively different. What I wanted to see is this down here. Oh, this is interesting. Check input combo. So it is a go-to, and it was a go-to in the original as well. So I didn't need to take the time to figure out what that was. We have damage kind and damage effect as variable names. I'm going to grab those. Somewhere. So this isn't Rick dead. This is what was it? Check input. Thank you for the runes, Rhino. If only I could read them. I like the Ezekiel. That great spelling. Oh, where did they go? Where did they go? What is SP14? Okay, so we're setting SP14 here. This might 202. These are getting spilled to the stack. Do we have anything like that? what I can tell, this isn't being used, but it is possibly because I did something stupid. So let's go down and see where these might be. So they are being used down here on 240. And I think this is where I've got the name. So step hit, step dead. Let's, yep, damage effects and damage kind. So SP10 will become damage effects. And let's go back and change these names. I'm going to add the symbols for them too. So this is blade dash input and high jump input. And before I leave, I'm going to find where these are. They're right here in the same Richter file. Do I have that open? The worst thing is when you change a symbol in decomp.me that you haven't resolved yet, and then you come back and you can't remember what it was, and then you have to either search for that symbol or do other things. So I like to make sure that I do them all at the same time. Or I'll write a to-do and then not do it in decomp.me, but come back later and do it. All right, so we have our damage input and damage kind. And angle, I think all of our variables are named, which is good. Are we any closer? Not really. We do have, yeah, let's start figuring out variables. So I'm going to look for registers, specifically S registers, and I want to make sure that where one S register is used, the other is used as well. If they're not the same, I don't care too much. I just care that they're always used the same way otherwise. So if I have S4 on one side and S3 on the other side, as long as those are used consistently, then I know that that variable is probably right. I know. I can be relatively sure. You can never know anything with any of this. So far, I'm not seeing a lot of the S registers as differences. Here's the first one, S5 and S7. So again, these are different, and that's okay as long as they're always used the same way, S5 and S7. So as long as those highlights match up on both sides, I'm not going to fret too much about them being different. And so here's the first time that we see that they are being used differently. At this point, though, at 385, my guess is that this isn't even a variable issue anymore, that these are just ephemeral values, and those variables, not that they're out of scope, but they're just not being used anymore. So I don't think that this is going to end up being an issue. This one down here might be. No, that's ephemeral as well. 398. I don't think that these are being loaded into variables either. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's the case. I think at this point, even MetroWorks has said these aren't being used anymore. I'm going to reuse those registers for something else. Here is one of the first ones we see, though, where we have a variable and they have the stack. So we have a stack offset and a variable, and we can do the same thing. I'm going to look at the S4 and S6 ones first. Make sure that those are the same. And again, by the time we get down here, I think that they're just not being used the same way anymore. So let's look at that S5 and offset 30. So we want the same thing here. The big issue is it usually is a little more expensive to do those loads. Yeah, so we're loading the value from, this is where the expensive part comes in. We're loading the offset 0 of this V1 pointer, and then we're storing it to the stack to retrieve it back later. And so every time we need it, it's going to have to be read from the stack. Here it's being read or written again. And we're basically looking for the same thing. Like, are those being used in the same way? Then they're probably the same variable. And so down here, 389. Oh, that's probably the same thing again, where at that point S5 is just being used for whatever whatever the compiler wants it to be used for. Excuse me. Pardon me. All right, so not finding much yet. Unfortunately, I unhighlighted that. I'm going to look at some of the other variables in Richter. So what, we obviously don't know for certain how this was written. We can just guess. Here's our pos X and pos Y. This has been decompiled for the PSP as well, so we can be relatively confident here. And is that being in the wrong function? Went too far? Nope. Where are those being assigned? Here's our pos X and pos Y. We have a VRAM flag variable that's not being used or doesn't look like it's being used. I want to see what other variables they have. So new status, we have a status variable. And we should try to put these in the same order. They probably were in the same order. Sometimes that affects how this gets compiled. Sometimes it doesn't. I never know when step and step S and damage kind. Going the wrong way. So there's something called is damage taken deadly and a damage parameter. Let's look at those. Calc player damage. So this is around the check input combo. We're gonna have to see if we have a function call like that. Somewhere around the hit points. No, I think that this is probably calculated slightly differently. So I don't think we're going to need that. All right. And then VRAM flag, I'll check that. So near the end, the VRAM flag is getting set. I don't think that that's happening in the Richter boss, so I'm not worried about that one either. Let's check stage collision. Where's the damage param? So this one is interesting. So this is in that same area. Right after player is being pulled, I think we're setting some global values in that area. No, it's this OR 2. Is there something similar over here? Not quite. Yeah, so this logic is a bit different. And this damage kind, I wonder if that is a enum. So I don't know if we're going to get any more out of that. So let's keep going. S1s look the same. Good difference on 287. This looks like, though, it's being used as an ephemeral. So something at this point has convinced MetroWorks that it doesn't need to continue to use those the same way anymore, and that it can start using them as temporary registers. Uh, 301. Yeah, at this point, S1 is being used as a temp. There's a couple things that affects the ordering of registers. GCC, for the most part, assigns them when they're first used. MetroWorks mostly does that, but sometimes it does funny things based on the order of their declaration, which makes little sense. All right, so S4 is being used wrong, and okay, let's look at this 202. Damage kind. Oh, this is where it's being spilled to the stack. Oh! Why is it being spilled to the stack? And can we force it to be spilled to the stack? Yes. we can. How do we do that? By cheating, by looking at this. It's not damage kind as a just a variable. It's damage kind as the struct, as part of damage param. This would have been relatively difficult to figure out without that. So it doesn't matter what order, I don't know yet. So let's go down here. And so we need to figure out when is that moved back into a variable, or is it never moved back into a variable? But that gets us onto the stack. So now we need to track where 34 is being used. And that's our stack variable. And damage effects is going to be the same way. I think it's just effects though. These need to be 4 bytes away from each other, and they are. All right, that's going to be excellent. But we lost damage kind along the way. Why are these? Oh, yeah. And do we need it? Let's try getting rid of it. At 190, we're looking much better. We're getting there. So here we're going into S0 instead of, or sorry, S7 instead of V0. So that's still not ideal. Let's go back up and look at the stack and see. Our stack is good. Our stack looks just right. So there could be some stack ordering. Let me compare this to Richter and see where damage param is in comparison with these others. So I think it's pretty much in the same spot. Yes. All right. Look at that top. Oh my goodness, look at that. That's so clean. That's so clean, I can't help myself. I'm going to go look at PlayStation. 90, looking good. What is PlayStation not happy with? We have stuff spilling to the stack on the PlayStation, which is not ideal. That's okay. We're getting there, little by little. Oh, this looks like it falls through. Is that true? Is that true? Something's going on with this this case in like the cleanup switch. So we're gonna have to go look at that. The time attack controller stuff, I mentioned this already, that I think that this is PSP only. $342. So there was some time attack controller calls. The OR here is wrong. So these are all the same. But they're not being... Oh. This one should have time attack controller too? Oh, this actually tells us a little bit. Maybe the time attack controller should not be getting called there. Are there two ways to save Richter? Or, like I said, some of this could be PSP specific. Let's grab this. This one I thought 330 was going to be PSP specific. So there's something in that switch that is wrong. A really pre-optimized one up in this function. $388. One of these variables here does not seem to be loaded. It looks like, and if this is the case, I don't know what to do about it. Well, one, it's no, this at most would be, and we went through all these. I was thinking this might be part of the GRIC player status, but I don't think that it is. There's a second read that's happening. Oh, here. This needs to be. This is part of. I think it's part of G entities. Let's figure that out. I thought it was. Maybe that's the one that was after the end of G entities. Nope. Definitely inside of G entities. 762D8. Do that the other way. So I'm taking this offset minus 162D8 4C. anim. So this should be rick.anim. Not quite what I wanted. Oh, this one is the same thing. There we go. And some more down here. Anything that's in this 7. I don't know why I didn't catch these earlier. That was dumb of me. So let me mouse. I get a right click now. That's something. But that's not going to help me. Let's look at these. This will be beneficial. All right, so we're gonna entity 64, which is the Richter boss. It's gonna go from 762D8 to 76394. So all of these are part of that that Richter entity, and that was dumb of me to not check first. So let's find out all these offsets, and then we'll replace those with what they should be. And that will probably help quite a bit. I can't just copy the stupid thing because of the D. And I could just do some of this in my head. All right, so we have all those. Now let's figure out what they are. $34 is flags. Doing the replacement here. 3C is hitbox state. Four C is anim. No, we got that one already. 50 is pose. And 632E is five four, which is anim set. And you know what I should have done? I should have put these all here and then copy them into the symbols table. So excuse me while I revert and then go forward and then grab these addresses. A little bit of pain now, hopefully for more gain later. Grab all those. We'll throw those into the symbol table. And let's build just in case. Oh, we already had anim set. Okay, so if I already had it, why didn't it show up there? Oh, I don't want to get rid of all those. Just anim set. All right. Now I can get rid of these here. And let's go back. Back and forth, back and forth. Actually, let's look through here and see what is still missing. So game timer is being treated as a word instead of a long. I want to go look at Richter and see if that's the case there too, and look at the PSP and see if that's the case. Some register issues. Still issues with that switch, which is fine. Let's take this back over to the PSP. I'm gonna have to end this here on a cliffhanger. Come back next week. See if we can get the rest of it. What happened here? Oh, a type mismatch now. This is an animation frame. I think it's an array. We can get some of these from the Richter as well. Ooh. That was not what I wanted. How do I check the late dash and put it in here? All right. 96, so getting close. Let's see if we are having problems at the same places. Not quite. Some problems here with the timers. I thought that I tried this already with the not. Yeah, we need the explicit check against 0. So register issues here may be caused by something else. Oh, no, we can't do 2 reads. We have to do it in line like that. What else? Getting close though. So we don't have the same issue down in the switch that the PlayStation is having. So there is some issue here at 282 at the start of the switch. So more needs to be done. And so we'll figure that out. Next week, I probably won't touch Richter except for maybe to split out the code that we've decompiled so far from the duplicate code that's in other overlays and try to get the import in separately from what we've decompiled so far. I don't want to commingle the two quite yet. And then, yeah, we'll come back and try to finish this off tomorrow on Monday. See you all Monday. Adios. Appreciate everybody stopping by. Uh-oh. Shouldn't have done that. Always make the changes in both places at the same time. All right, we'll be back Monday. Talk about headphones. Talk about all the things you want. And I'll catch you all then. Adios. Go to soten.z.dev to learn more about the Symphony Night Decompilation project. Join us in Discord. Adios.